Has the administration brought more attention to this book than the media itself?
Well, the president, and he's a Queens guy, he's a counterpuncher. When people punch, he punches back, especially in a book like this, which is just such thin garbage. You have Pompeo there, CIA director, one of the most respected people in the administration. He briefs the president every day. You know, when I talk to the president, this guy is sharp. He's working his butt off. He's traveling around the world. He's back here. He's doing all this stuff. So I just think that this guy's trying to sell books. Unfortunately, because what he's doing fits the anti-Trump narrative of the elite media, they're running with it. And if someone did a book like this about Obama with a bunch of false things, the media would be trying to suffocate it. It's just because they're out to undermine the president.
Let me tell you something. If you spent any time watching other television networks this morning, it dominated the headlines. It dominated the conversations that were happening, Kennedy. And I wonder when this starts to fade, if it does.
The president does have to stop reacting to it, and I think that's the smartest thing you can do is portray yourself as being bigger than whatever narrative someone else is trying to push. And when you're punching down, you compound the situation. I think that's what the president is doing, and I really think he has to stop. I thought the exchange with Jake Tapper and Stephen Miller was fascinating. It was very entertaining. I downloaded the book this weekend and read a lot of it, and I did think it was entertaining in the way that I find Kitty Kelly biographies to be entertaining. And you don't extract too much truth out of them, but it's sort of like reading Us Weekly in the dentist's office. You know, you want something that's kind of mindless and fun, and that's what this is. Michael Wolff says that he's going to bring down the presidency with this book. I don't think that's going to happen, but
I see the people over their lunch at Us Weekly going, did Kennedy just compare us to Michael Wolff? What?
But see, I think the problem with, because you're basically saying that, this is a gossipy type book, but the problem is it's being presented as truth by many individuals in the media. And I think that's the problem. And I think that's the frustration with President Trump as well, because even the own author of the book said that his objective is to take down the Trump administration. He said there was a looseness with the truth in his book, that he arrived at his own version of events in the book, yet it's being peddled and presented as truth by many members of the media. And even just basic
source things or have footnotes.
And even just basic facts are wrong. Getting when John Boehner resigned as Speaker wrong, saying that President Trump somehow didn't know who former Speaker John Boehner was, despite the fact that they went golfing back in 2013. There's misspellings. I mean, so there's just basic inaccuracies that anyone with half a brain could realize that are false.
But to further Sandra's point, I mean, the idea of making it with speed and volume, the stories come faster because you've given it some sort of oxygen. The one thing that the president does, and I think you would agree because you've spent some time with him, does better than anybody is sell his own narrative. I mean, if he thinks he needs to punch it all, and by the way, I'm sure the people of Queens, New York are thanking you for the shout out because they are fighters, as are all New Yorkers. But I mean, if he thinks that there's some sort of word that needs to be put out there, he's not going to be shy about doing it. The challenge with this, and the caution that I would put forth is, where the president and the White House are concerned, the questions are really starting to come about how did you let somebody in this close to America's president? How did you do that?
And there's some responsibility there.
Yeah, there's some responsibility. And I've been saying that since day one, like, oh, okay, did somebody break the rules? Did something happen? The other thing is, I haven't heard anybody necessarily refute on point some of the things that Steve Bannon has said, including Steve Bannon. Does this guy really have tapes, Michael Wolff? I don't know, but if he does and they go point on point, that's just in elevating the story. It's a risk.
And I know we're going to talk a lot about Steve Bannon in just a second, but when you look at the resources that this administration is throwing at defending this book from his allies to people within his White House, does he need to be doing that? Does he need to be fighting that hard, or should he put the focus back on the issues, Congressman?
Well, here's the thing. If he weren't talking about it, do you think the press would just stop talking about it? This is what they want to do. And so he sees it out there, and he's not going to let this narrative go unchallenged, because it's a narrative that's not only true about the broader administration, but it's specifically attacking him as somehow this guy is not up for the job, which is just not true. If you disagree with someone politically, fine, make that case. But this nonsense that the left and this guy's engaged in, I just think it's counterproductive. It's not good for the country.
And how somehow this is going to be the impetus to invoke the 25th
And yet,
Amendment.
notice that.
Yeah,
notice that. Who's involved with the 25th Amendment? The cabinet. Did he interview one cabinet member? No, not any cabinet members talked to him.